Hello guys, it's Sendou here again. So today we have, as I promised, the second half of the gear building video. And today we're gonna take a look at these strange abilities down here. The abilities that you can stack. And we're also gonna take a look at my brawler build. I'm gonna give some reasoning why I'm using it. And yeah, that's the main points. So just to start going over the abilities, of course first we have opening gambit and lasted effort. So opening gambit was actually quite popular at the late hours of Splatoon 1. It helps you get to a point really fast. So when the game starts you have a movement boost for the first 30 seconds. So that can help you get in faster to the middle point and get an advantage in the first fight. And this is very map dependent ability. So far my opinion is that it's not so great for Splatoon 2 since we don't really have any maps where you could properly take use of it. I could see it works something like main stage if you use it to do a really fast flank, for example. But it needs more testing and it's gonna be very map dependent always. Last effort, it improves your ink efficiency, so these 3 perks here for the last 30 seconds, and again, not one of that I would recommend you use right away. So lasted effort is more like for Tier 4 in my opinion. Like I think it honestly is pretty good for Tier 4, but outside of that I don't necessarily see it too much. It's a pretty good package deal after the patch. But yeah, like typically you want these perks for the whole match, at least I want them for the whole match and not just last 30 seconds, so personally not the biggest fan of this. Comeback is probably the most insane package deal there is. So comeback, in Splatoon 1 it was probably one of the most popular perks next to quick respawn Seltsam, but yeah, 4 subs of Ink 7 main, Ink 7 sub, Ink recovery up, run speed, swim, speed, charge up. So if this seems like it's a lot, it is. It is one insane package deal, and you get it every time you respawn for 20 seconds. So this is definitely viable for builds where you are trying to run some quick respawn. Like we talked about, the quick respawn builds typically might be also quick super jump. Then yeah, comeback is the natural companion to those two. So definitely give it a go. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it, just because I like to keep things consistent. So with comeback, I have it for 20 seconds after respawn, then it runs out. So what that's gonna mean is that I'm gonna be inconsistent, so I might run out of ink when I'm not meaning to run out of ink or stuff like that. So personally that's why I don't use comeback, but I think you might find it useful. So it's definitely worth going for if you're running a build, something that's probably something like this, for example. So in that case I definitely do recommend trying out comeback. And Tenacity. So Tenacity is something that I never was a really huge fan of. So in my mind you get most use of it when you're the last one alive. So the enemy has 4 up and you're the only one alive in your team. But in my opinion, against good teams, they hunt you down in this situation. So yeah, you're the last one alive, but most good teams just rush you down at that point, then you die anyway. So you just die later, but you still die and you get the penalty, and Tenacity won't have time to work. So maybe for very specific playstyles it might work if you're playing very backliner sort of game. Maybe you're playing E-leader or something. Then yeah, maybe it could work for sure. But yeah, it's actually a pretty good boost when it's working. And as you know, it gives you more charge when you are down more. So if you only down 1 player, it only affects a bit, but it affects more when you down 2 players, and it even more when you down 3 players. So definitely something you can experiment with if you think it might work with your backline role. Thermal ink. Can't say I'm too big of a fan. I could see this on something like Jet, which is really like long kill time but really like long range, so you can kind of like follow the targets you get a couple hits in. Outside of that, I don't really see it, and be very careful with this ability that you understand what it does, because for example for blasters, you have to direct them for it to count. So if you're running it on range blaster, it's automatically a waste. because if you dive them, you kill them, basically. So test it in the practice range, so you see for sure what it's doing for you. So this one lesson I want to give you, like, don't ever assume anything. Like, find out for sure, like test it yourself or ask around. Don't just assume that something works in a way like that because whatever assumptions you might have, but you know, test it so to make sure. Ninja Squid. So Ninja Squid is something that's suddenly been pretty popular. And in Splatoon 1 it was not that great in my opinion, primarily for echolocator special, which kind of like, you know, really didn't do much good to you, and Hound was very widespread, so both of these things you had no way of countering them, and when you were exposed, and of course Ninja Squid did nothing for you. And yeah, so Ninja Squid in this game I think is slightly better, but I also am not the biggest fan of it. I definitely see the strength of it in 1v1s. I lose many 1v1s simply because the enemy is running Ninja Squid. But also Ninja Squid is kind of countered by good map control. Like if you ink a lot, Ninja Squid is not that good, and you're gonna have the speed debuff, so you're gonna have to run some swim speed if you wanna like remain as fast as you were. And personally I like swim speed a lot, so that's why I never really used Ninja Squid. And if I would use Ninja Squid, I definitely would stack enough swim speed up in order to, you know, be able to outcome the Ninja Squid. So you can use charts like this one to see that, okay, light weapon plus Ninja Squid, okay, it's that much lower. So how much would I need to stack to, you know, overcome the speed debuff? And it's quite a bit, so just good to keep in mind that you're trading off your swim speed, which is one of the more important stats in this game, in my opinion. Haunt, well, Haunt. Okay, first of all, in competitive, this is no use at all. Because most of the time, the player that kills you is gonna get killed anyway, thanks to callouts and people playing smart. In solo, yeah, I could see it. It's pretty fun ability in my opinion. Mostly because people don't really know what it does, so they don't know you see where they are. But, you know, in my opinion, just don't bother with it, honestly. Respawn Punisher. Okay, so Respawn Punisher is something that I could see get more value in near future, because if you don't know, Respawn Punisher adds debuff to your respawn speed and debuff to the special saver, the special amount you saved when you die. And it's affected to both the people you kill and you yourself, the guy who is using Respawn Punisher. But on top of that, it also kind of like stops quick respawn from working. Like, you still get something of quick respawn, but it's not much. So especially in Japan, I see more people experiment with quick respawn. So quickly, if you're gonna have teams with 2 or 3 people running quick respawn, then of course some backliner player running Respawn Punisher might suddenly be really good. So I think definitely keep an eye on that process and see how it goes. But Respawn Punisher definitely for, I could see it for Jet, I could see it for Sniper, anything that stays back a bit more and doesn't die more than they kill, definitely consider Respawn Punisher. I think it's really good ability for players that don't die much. Drop Roller and Stealth Jump. So Drop Roller, in my opinion, really good for, you know, inkjet weapons. So you get a bit more extra survivability if someone's camping your jumping spot. And yeah, also like, you know, when you super jump back in. But this is also one of those abilities that, in my opinion, is kind of dependent on people not knowing that there's a drop roller, because it's quite rare. So most of the time I think it works simply because people don't know to expect it. And if they know to expect it, like some weapons like range blasters just space themselves out and they can still kill you. It might be harder for some people to punish your jumps properly, but it won't make you survive anything. But definitely for inkjet weapons especially, I think you get a lot of use. But another thing you can experiment with on different maps, it might work better. So definitely something that's worth trying at least. Stealth Jump. So Stealth Jump is something that I use for my range build actually. And I think for range blaster, for me it's like it takes a long time for me to come back from spawn, you know, when I die, and it's a big map. So for me to have a Stealth Jump, I think it's really really like important part of my build on those bigger maps, and this is not my build at all, but it doesn't matter. Just playing around with this. So basically what Stealth Jump does to you is that it makes more jumps safer. So you can make more jumps work, enemies won't see you like far away and, you know, close in and kill you. It won't allow you to do stupid jumps like in Splatoon 1, but it definitely allows you to survive out of more jumps. And I made the whole video of Stealth Jump being underrated, along with quick respawn, and I still do believe that. I think Stealth Jump is really good, and I would like to see more people run it since I think it's pretty powerful. Object Threader. So Object Threader is so good right now. It's simply because people are stacking so much ink armor. So getting that ink armor down faster is actually pretty important. So think about something like Ansap. With Object Threader you can one-shot ink armor, and this is actually huge, in my opinion. So definitely run Object Threader for anything that deals just below 30 damage basically. So it doesn't one-shot armor, but when you use Object Threader then it one-shots armor. And again, this is something you need to try out yourself and then you know for sure. But definitely like keep Object Threader in your mind, and also like for stuff like, you know, burst bomb guys. Yeah, getting that Object Threader is really nice so you can kill the ink armor faster. That's a primary use. It also helps with like sponges and rails and launch umbrella shields and so on. But you know, definitely the ink armor is the main use here. Like it's definitely used because of ink armor, not because you can take down beacons faster. It just happens to be there also, but ink armor is the reason to use it right now, and I think it's pretty good. And so we were gonna take a look at my umbrella build. So this is pretty funny actually, because, you know, as you know, there's gonna be a patch next week. Or maybe you don't know, now you know. There's gonna be a patch next week. And what's gonna happen is that Umbrella gets nerfed, so you might not see me play Umbrella anymore, because it was never like hugely interesting to me like to play. It was more like I played it because it was so good and it was a good alternative to Range Blaster, but maybe I'll figure out something else to play now. But anyway, here's my Umbrella build. So just to give some like idea of how to make your build happen. Like first of all, you see me, you know, like one thing I see many people do is that they go for everything is like all like nice, like whatever, this is gonna be Ink 7 main, this is gonna be Ink 7 main. So basically everything looks like nice, everything is triple spurs like that, stuff like this. But I mean, this is not really relevant, is it? So it's not important that your gear looks pretty, it just has to have the stuff you want, right? So you don't have to make it look like pretty with all the triples and stuff. Instead, just put the stuff in there that you want. Like I want one ink bomb defense sub because of the video that I posted with the previous part of this guide I'm making. And I only need one main for subs of Ink 7 main, so I put special shots here. So it's more use for me than another Ink 7 main. So, you know, just don't fall to the pit where you just try to make everything pretty. Like I think many people just, you know, don't really try to optimize their builds and just go for triples, and in my opinion it's not the way to go here. But just to give a reasoning for the Ink 7 main, so there's this thing called diminishing returns in Splatoon. What this means is basically, it means that the more I stack the ability, the less use I will get of it. So when you look like of a different chart, that's so funny they say it's umbrellas, but I don't see any umbrellas here. But any case, when you stack any ability, the more you stack it, the less effective it will become. So that's why it's not a good idea to, even if you wanna be Sonic the Hedgehog, you don't stack all the way swim speed, because you know you get less of it every time you stack it more and more and more. And then at the end it only gives you so much that it's irrelevant, you might as well put something else in. So that's just something that I think people should really realize, that it's better to do couple different abilities rather than stacking stuff all the way. Like even if you wanna be like, yeah, I wanna shoot my gun a lot, like you don't stack all the way Ink 7 main. Like I couldn't find the chart, but the principle is still the same. So why I have 1 main, 4 subs of Ink 7 main is because that's the amount that gives. I mean, after that it starts. I need more, basically more Ink 7 subs to get the same increase. So that's like when the diminishing returns makes the starts working against me. Kind of like I would have to stack way more to get just 1 more shot, and I don't think it's worth it. So this is not Splatoon 2 anymore, but this is a chart I used a lot. So I used this kind of charts a lot to figure out how much should I stack, because you can see like, okay, I stack 10 points, well that's a really good increase, but when I go down and down and down, it's just less and less and less, and at the end, you could stack like almost 1 main more, and it's like almost irrelevant, the increase that's happening here. So like this doesn't matter at all. So this is like the main point. Like look at these charts in SplatoonWiki.org. There's many good charts like this for most of the abilities. So I would recommend just taking a look and like think of yourself like, okay, maybe I shouldn't stack this thing all the way, because at some point it's not gonna give me so much, so maybe I should figure out something else to use, and like stuff like this. But yeah, also like stuff like sometimes one sub ability might make a huge difference. In this case it's the bomb defense, the classic example, but might be something else too, so always keep an open mind with this. And yeah, like I won't be able to go across every weapon and give you the perfect build and then everyone's happy. That would be the perfect guide, but unfortunately everyone has their own personal preference. Like I explained last time, I want range blaster, I want resistance on it, and some other person might be, I don't need it, like I don't need it at all. So you gotta experiment and figure out yourself why you would want that stuff, Why do I want this ability? I test it around and then I find it's good, it's not good, then I adjust the build and then you end up with the build you like. And definitely ask good players around, like why do you use this build, what build do you use, why you do use this build, like definitely do stuff like this, and then like adjust it to your own needs. But I think this is mostly the video that I want to make. I hope it was useful. Please leave a comment if you have questions or comments, and thanks for watching, see you next time.